just a little bit introduction to understand, to try to explain what I'm going to talk about. The war, the big Russian invasion, full-scale Russian invasion in 2022 reshaped completely the organization of football in Ukraine. It was already different starting from 2014, because the state is starting that time. Donetsk and Lugansk and some football teams, they displaced already starting in 2014. But 2022 completely reorganized football in traditional forms of support, so rooted in local stadiums, some neighborhood communities, some weekly or monthly routine, they were abruptly disrupted. And right now, supporters, they need to negotiate how, where, and with whom they able, right? So they can, not just they want, but they can practice their fandom. And this is what we are focusing on, how they practice their fandom. The presentation is going to be focused, and our research is focused on two intertwined dimensions of ordinary, and I'm going to say ordinary, Ukrainian supporterism. It's going to be the experience of the fans who fled Ukraine or living abroad in European Union, and the experience of fans and their fandom that stayed in Ukraine. A little bit, I'm going to talk a little bit about ordinary fans, because yesterday we spoke so much about this one. Me speaking Ukrainian, we don't have this problem at all of understanding regular, ordinary, etc. So we have two words for describing this, like in English, supporters and fans. And supporters in Ukrainian, it's bolivальник, and fan is fan. If you are a fan, you can call yourself a fan or ultras. Very synonymic expression. If you talk to someone and you say, do you like football? Do you go football? Yes. Are you a fan? No, I'm a supporter. And absolutely understandable from the context, what does supporters mean? So if I say supporter, and I'm talking about now supporters, not ultras, not fans, because completely different thing with ultras, aka fans in Ukraine. If you want, we can discuss about this another time or later. But right now, I'm talking about ordinary fans and their experience in Ukraine and abroad. Before we'll go and start more with the details about their experience, we need to understand what happened in Ukraine. About football in Ukraine. Prior to 2024, Ukrainian football was kind of in upswing trajectory. Very successful performance of kind of relatively successful performance of two Ukrainian clubs. Shakhtar Donetsk and Dynamo Kyiv participated in Champions League. Zarya Lugansk participated in Conference League. By the way, Donetsk, Lugansk, Donetsk, Shakhtar, and Zarya Lugansk, two cities that already was invaded in 2014, they were displaced. It was kind of interesting how successfully they performed by already losing their territory. And Euro 2020, Ukraine performed, went to quarterfinal, so money from oligarchs, very good transfers. 24th of February 2022, it's all finished. Life absolutely was shocked, right, and disrupted. Football was no longer a priority. 2021-2022 league was not completed. UEFA, I remember they introduced extraordinary regulation that allowed foreign players, legionnaires, to suspend to terminate the contract unilaterally. I cannot pronounce it. Unilaterally. From one side, let's go like this. And a lot of clubs found themselves with a very big chunk of their squad missing. And a lot of clubs just suspended their activity altogether, except of two clubs, Shakhtar Donetsk and Dynamo Kyiv, that still performed, but only on international arena abroad for the charity, matches. And only those two remained active. The thing is that summer 2022, football started to pass in the rebirth period. So already in summer 2022, Ukrainian Association of Football coordinated with military authorities to design a specific protocol that would allow the football to maintain, but with, of course, very strict regulations. The decision was initiated really unusual sport. I'm going to just give you the maps because people don't know that much about Ukrainian geography throughout the last 4 years through the news channels. Anyway, they 2022-2023 was a very unusual season in modern European history. I would say like this. It held exclusively in the regions and still is far away from the front lines, majority of the central and western part of Ukraine. Matches were played without spectators in the first year after post-invasion, so 2020 to 2023. They allowed to have only essential personnel there, so it was only players, coaches, referees, security forces, that's all. The new air raid protocol, it was established starting from 2022, still on there. Each stadium is required to have a shelter within 500 meters from the stadium that can accommodate all the participants. When siren sounds, the match should stop. Everybody should go to the shelter. And then only after the siren and after some time later, the match can again start again. There was one supporter with whom we spoke. He said, like originally the first season after post the invasion, he watched the football online, and it lasted 4 hours because of the stops. So 90 minutes, 4 hours. Then, despite these constraints, football still continued. Gradually, conditions changed. Already next season allowed some limited amount of public on the stadiums, not everywhere, but at least in Lviv region. And 2024-2025 season, the first season with public. Not all public, very limited because it depends on the shelter capacity. For example, in in Kiev, where they have the biggest shelter. So right now they play in Lobanovsky Stadium. Capacity normally is 16,000 for the Lobanovsky Stadium. They have right now allowance of 1,700 people on the stands because of the shelters, sometimes less. So I think 1,700 is the biggest amount of public that you can have in Ukraine right now, and it is in Kiev region. So this happened within Ukraine, really the displacement of the not stadiums, but the teams. Some of them disappeared, unfortunately, like Sevastopol from Crimea, because when they were invaded, they were playing on the another side of Kherson, and unfortunately, well, some of them were killed, so it doesn't exist anymore. This has happened in Ukraine. What about the international games? Huge shift, major shifts there too. The Ukrainian cities couldn't host international games on the territory, of course, due to the security reasons. And the games right now are relocated mostly to the cities in Germany, Poland, and Czech Republic. So going from this really profound reorganization of Ukrainian football since 2022, we need to understand that the fandom, the football supporters, and their experience has changed extremely as well, and their practices as well. What really disrupted precisely is this dimension of football that anchors and supports identity. And we said about identity of supporters really linked to the local stadiums and local communities. Right now, it was no longer possible for them to practice the fandom localized. They couldn't travel abroad, of course, even travel within Ukraine due to the curfew and the martial laws. But in the same time, which is interesting for us in like as academics, this forced mobility generated by the war created new fan geographies. And millions of Ukrainians, of course, left Ukraine, but they formed these diasporic communities of supporters across the Europe. And this is what I will try to right now present to you. And I will start first with the displaced fans abroad and their experience kind of beyond borders. Just the bullet points. I will just go into more talking rather than showing you in these things. So more than 10 million people left Ukraine. So think about this, 10 million people right now somewhere spread across Europe. Majority of them in Poland, Germany, and the third one is Czech Republic. Because Ukrainian cities couldn't host football there on the territory, those displaced Ukrainians, they actually found themselves with a very unexpected opportunity. Instead of being geographically far away from their clubs, now they found themselves in relative proximity to the stadium or to temporary stadium of the team. Their team or other Ukrainian team, doesn't matter for them, that was very much important. And as the result, what we noticed, and the new communities emerged around these matches, not just recent refugees, but expatriates, long-term refugees, some students that started to become kind of form this diasporic fan subcultures, I don't want subculture, community though. And this gathering became more than just a sport event. It really kind of like social nodes of diasporic belonging, allowing displaced Ukrainians to feel part of larger community. And these attending the matches in Poland or Germany, it became cultural significant and became a part of cultural continuity. Why? Because it kind of a way to carry a piece of home into a new context. It's almost throughout the talk to respondents in Europe, it felt like stadiums became kind of like a temporary embassy for Ukraine, where Ukrainians could use flags, chants, some slogans without explanations. So they knew exactly what they're sharing with each other. And here a little bit, I'm kind of wants to look and use some theory to understand what is going on with fandom in Ukraine abroad. There's two theories that I want to present you. It's like by Ludovic Lestralin, is the theory of supporterisme à distance, so distant supporterism. He's saying that supporters maintain very strong attachment despite physical separation from their home stadiums. And this distance does not weaken identity, it's reshaped it and put it into another context. And this really kind of embodied really well by Ukrainian supporters. So it kind of shifted to online platforms, by Telegram chats, and to these temporary stadiums. Another theory that I want to share with you, again, I'm going to talk about them in the end as well, put all together the thoughts about the subject is by Hognestad's research on mobility and football culture, which further eliminates these practices of Ukrainian fans. He argues that mobile supporters, so it's going to be migrants, workers abroad, or people in transit, they develop new layers of belonging to the team that is no longer anchored in a single location. And this is absolutely what happened in Ukrainian thing. Right now, you can have not just Ukrainian fan identity or Dynamo Kyiv identity. You have such a multi-layer identity that you have Shakhtar Donetsk fan from Donetsk, okay, living in Warsaw, or Shakhtar Donetsk supporter from Kharkiv, living in Paris, going to the stadium, etc. So you have so many localized identities, but shifting together, which absolutely created a new identity for the fandom. And that's the idea, is that the fandom within or in the context of displaced Ukrainians in Europe, it's a portable social identity that travels with people and adapts to the new context. Another theme would emerge throughout the conversations with Ukrainians supporters abroad, that really going to the stadium really has a new emotional landscape. Going to support Dynamo Kyiv, it's not Kyiv team anymore, it's Ukrainian team first. Going to support Shakhtar Donetsk is not Donetsk team, it's Ukrainian team first of all. And it's really emotional, and it's they describe it as bittersweet, so it's mixed of pride because it's Ukrainian, part of Ukrainian community, but sadness because of the realities, of course, why this is happening abroad and not in Ukraine. And but in the sense of this one, emotional, really important, going to the matches for a lot of the supporters, because they say it's sort of like maintaining a sense of home when home is unreachable. So that's why football has really much a lot of importance for a Ukrainian community. So we're talking about football fans abroad. Let's go to the fans that are in supporters. This is the picture from the first season post-invasion on the anti-stadiums. So this is what's normal for Ukraine football for the first, so 2020 to 2023. So throughout the conversation with supporters in Ukraine, mostly in Kiev and Kharkiv region, two regions described. Three main topics emerged. So the first one is, of course, organizational change due to the stadium allowance. Supporters understand a lot of things changed on the stadium. Many clubs cannot use their home stadiums, or they were displaced, they can no longer go there. Some people, supporters in Kiev that are going to the stadiums, they kind of described it like organized just for something to exist. And of course they say, oh, it's not like that used to be with a lot of people, football anymore. It doesn't matter if I watched it at home or at stadium, it's the same thing. But paradoxically, a lot of people describe it as safer than before because there's a lot of people, because there are less fights, because there are less drunk people. And as people said that right now, they prefer to go with the kids to football than before because it's safer right now. And there are such good security measures that actually have a sense of security there. And they discovered now the atmosphere like family life. The second topic that occurred throughout our research is that the most important thing that updates like this fandom is the shift to domestic and digital forms of fandom. What does that mean? For majority of fans, just pure and simple, they cannot go to stadiums. That's those 1,000 out of Kievan supporters. People from Kharkiv, for example, cannot absolutely go, and the majority of people cannot. So what they do, the football and fandom shifted to private space, not collective, it's really private, to their home, to their kitchens, to their living rooms. And sometimes people invite, for example, their friends, their mates, and they're watching it together. Not always, quite rarely, because it's their curfew. If the football is in the evening, they cannot watch it because 9 p.m. nobody could go on the street during winter time. So it is really individual practice, but shared with your friends through the Telegram channel. So it's sort of like a mix of collective practice and individual practice, but you're staying at home. Of course, they describe it like just the content. It's not the same experience as it used to be. A lot of rituals that they used to practice disappeared. One of the supporters, they said that with his friends, not ultras, again, no, they're not fans, they're just supporters, but they had some rituals with friends that they drank a specific dairy product, depends on the outcome of the game, of like a very good, very disgusting one, depends. And right now he said, like, I cannot do it because it will be silly if I do it by myself at home. Like, it's just not the same thing. So, for example, this ritual cannot be maintained anymore. So it's shifted, absolutely. But the third theme that emerged, which is really, I hope I have a little 2 minutes, let's go and get some gear on that. The third thing that emerged here, there's still symbolic support. It's not physical support, but it's really symbolic support that's remained with Ukrainians there. Despite reduced opportunities for performative fandom, loyalty remains quite strong. And this loyalty became really symbolic, into really symbolic dimension. Supporters continue paying for streams because football is streamed by the platforms, not free, and then you need to pay for that. They pay for that. They buy merchandise online, and they engage in it with the clubs in different ways. For example, one kept his ticket to cancel the match and refused a refund, in this way kind of supporting the team, not Dynamo Kiev and not Shakhtar Donetsk because they have oligarch money and they kind of like they don't need money anymore, but it was for example, for Warsaw, which is for Poltava, a really small team that he said, this way I'm going to support. So just a little bit really quickly forward, really quickly. But that's theoretical thoughts about what we're talking about. It's just introductory research from the scientific curiosity. We're not paid for this, so we're hoping probably we can apply for some fundings for bigger research, because of course there's so many things to talk about the support tourism in Ukraine and abroad of Ukrainian fandom. What can we say? That fandom in the distance, because we're talking about distance, either this from abroad or within Ukraine, because there's still a distance, but just internal. Does not weaken. It's just reshaped and shift to different modes of engagement. The thing is about Ukrainian like distance, because normally traditionally the distance, if we talk about Ruzhelnyk and Oleksandr, they spoke about the distance associated with work mobility or geographical situation. In Ukrainian context, distance is very political and military produced, and it's not chosen, it is enforced. So if we're talking about emotional attachment and shifting to emotional ways of support of the fandom, well, like yesterday we spoke about political fandom, right? It's really political. That's why Ukrainians come into the stadiums. They're not coming with the scarf of Dynamo Kyiv. They go in there with Ukrainian flag. They're not chanting "Go Go Shakhtar Donetsk." They go in there, right? They're singing the anthem of Ukraine. There, it's really politically charged, or they are singing some insulting things about Putin. That's for sure, but it's really politically charged rather than football context. I'm going to stop because I need to stop right now. Thank you so much, and.